Hi, this is Dave, and welcome to Equity Story. Just say, obviously, this is just a general shared advice and personal advice. And I'm on my own today, so you know what? I love it when I'm on my own, so because I can go off a little bit on a tangent and hopefully try and look for those ideas and those stories that are going to make us some money without those annoying little analysts giving me a hard time with my charts. Um, anyway, um, let's first of all have a look at maybe the most important chart, which is the Dow. And been a few wins, doing quite well. Ukrainians, taking some land back from Russia. I think, the market quite like that. For me personally, I don't. That makes me even more nervous. I think the more you poke that bear, the more I think he's going to do something a little bit dangerous, like drop a big bomb. So I'm sort of it's like a no-win situation, really, isn't it? Ukraine against Russia. But one thing's for sure, it's going to keep these gas prices higher, I think, for much longer, and I can't see this war going away anytime soon. Um, which it's a worry long term for inflation. It's a worry for the economy. But what it does do, it gives opportunities to make money in certain industries and certain businesses, and that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit today. Because the market has been quite quiet. There's not too much news that have come out. Now the reporting season is over, but certainly I think there's one what I call high risk punt, which I think could go to the moon or maybe not, but it's certainly worth having a look at. Tonight also we have a really major event in the US of A, which is the CPI numbers. Um, the market's sort of expecting them to come off a little bit with oil being down a little bit recently. However, that inflation in America, I think, is a lot more out of control than really people realize. The interesting thing is, if you actually use the same criteria to measure inflation in the 1970s, what they do now, the inflation in America would be upwards by 13, 14%. When we had inflation that high before, interest rates were 16, 17, 20% in America. So, really, the interest rates still where they are, 3%. Are they really going to make a dent in inflation? I don't think so. And the question is, when does the market suddenly realize that? When does the market suddenly realize that we've got to, this is going to get ugly, and we're going to have to really have a maybe a little bit of pain to get through this problem. But again, those CPI numbers are going to be closely watched. The market will see it how it wants, and I think you do have those. Uh, how do you say those elections, the midterms in America? The Biden propaganda machine will be doing everything they can to make sure any numbers come out that look reasonably good. But I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated to see how intelligent or dumb the market is going to be when reading those numbers. And I think if you put a fine tooth comb through those numbers, I think you're going to see tonight that inflation is a serious issue, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. I believe the Fed will go 75 basis points this month, and I think they'll go more next month, and I think they're going to go a lot more next year than the market realizes. Um, you know, when do we get the bigger pullback on the market? And it's most probably going to be then, maybe, when the market realizes we're going to have to dig in a lot deeper and harder on these interest rate rises than what the market believes. You know what? I hope I'm wrong, I really do, because the last thing we want to see is higher interest rates. But unfortunately, that's a natural economy. It's natural capitalism. Sometimes we need a clear out, and hopefully that clear out will give us some really good buying opportunities. Um, like I said, it's tough times at the moment, but tough times do give excellent opportunities to buy stocks, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to talk about the hot stock, which is little AJ Lucas. Now, I just put the code in here. Uh, and so, what's going on here? What's the story about AJ Lucas? Now, it's an interesting little company. They're a driller, and they've actually been having some pretty good results, drilling a lot of coal projects, and it's not a bad company. It struggles for a long, long time, but they own 2%, swaths of some of the best fracking land in the UK. Now, there's been valuations of of fracking assets put at sort of over $100 billion, right? So crazy numbers. And what they say, there's potentially enough gas in their fracking tenements to supply gas to the UK for the next 50 years. Unbelievable. The potential in this company is absolutely unbelievable. So, why is it still trading a market cap of, it's already doubled and tripled. So, it's on the way up. Why is it not really trading on a market cap a lot higher? So fracking's been banned in the UK. It's been since 2019. There's been a few issues, which are serious issues. Earthquakes, tremors from from the fracking. Uh, the fracking industry says it's no different. They have their different arguments, and I'm not going to get in there yet. But because we've got a massive problem in Europe, and that's the supply of gas caused by the war in the Ukraine, um, AJ Lucas has suddenly come into the limelight because the UK government, 4 nights ago, said we're going to allow fracking in the UK. Right. Very, very interesting. And I'm going to show you why a little bit. They've got no choice. And I'm going to show you some graphs here to get a little bit of understanding what's going on in Europe. Um, energy. Energy is a massive problem at the moment. You've got pubs. There's a great, well, a horrible story in a pub that their electricity bills were 60 grand a year. Now they're at 460. The electricity bills are causing devastation in the UK with a number of industries. You've got businesses closing down. You've got steel mills closing down in Spain. People can't afford these bills. Your governments are starting to get desperate, and that's why they've opened the door to the fracking. And you can see at the moment most of the energy where it's created from, and you've got oil, and you can see gas has been on the rise since 1965. Coal has been on the way down, being a sort of dirtier form of to create energy. Nuclear stayed rather stable, as has hydro, and renewables as we expect coming up. But I think the important thing to take away from this chart is the rise of gas and how important it is for the energy market in the UK. Um, Another little graph, I think it's quite a good one here, we can have a look at, is, who supplies the gas? And obviously you can see Russia here, rest of the world and Norway. Now, most of the gas is supplied via pipelines. Um, and pipeline, Russia has recently said, guess what they did, I'll show you, can see here from the gas futures, it was about here that they said there was, basically, these are the futures, a little chart here. They basically said, you know, supply was coming in from the wells and everything was fine. But what they've said recently, guess what? We're turning off your gas. You're not going to have any gas from Russia at the moment until you stop the sanctions against our country. Um, it's a really, really, really serious situation. And you know what? It's a very nervous situation because we're about to head into winter in Europe. It's going to get pretty, pretty cold there. And I think people are going to get pretty desperate. And here again, you can see this is in the UK, a little bit of, you know, where where do we get the energy from? This is 2021, and you can see nuclear, but you can see gas here is a huge part of where we get the energy from in the UK. So major problems with these prices going absolutely through the roof. So suddenly AJ Lucas gets really, really interesting. And, you know, it's getting a lot of interest in the press. And I can bring, yeah, you know, this is from the Financial Times, and they're talking about, you know, lifting the gas supply. And there's some great articles. It's been a number of, you know, you've got here another from Express, a little bit more sensational. Millions handed huge energy gold miners fracking poised to overtake North Sea gas. So at the moment, they see fracking as a little bit the savior. There's only one issue. Not only have they allowed fracking, they do have to change some of the regulations over fracking. And that might be a little bit tricky, and that might be why we haven't seen AJ Lucas move even higher in the short term. And this is called the traffic light system. So what the traffic light system is, it sort of measures seismic activity or earth tremors for different types of coal mining and fracking. And I think a little bit because of the fear in fracking, they've put the restrictions on fracking a lot higher than they have on the coal industry and a lot higher they have on other industries, which means sometimes it's hard to get some of these fracking projects up and running. What they're talking about now, this traffic light system, is going to be modified, obviously, to uh, not cause so many issues for the fracking industry. To me, so more of their fracking wells are going to be commercial, and maybe that's just one little thing that's got to be sorted out. But generally speaking, I don't see why it wouldn't be. I can't imagine the trust government are going to say we're going to allow fracking, but then still allow some pretty draconian measures against fracking and still leave those in the same place. So potentially, the upside in AJ Lucas is enormous. And it's interesting because what they do, they own 96% of this company called Quadrilla. And Quadrilla is a UK company that own these huge fracking rights in the UK. High risk, of course, it is because you never know with fracking. Fracking is not liked by a lot of greenies. But saying that, if you go to people in Lancashire now and you talk about fracking, they want it. They need the jobs. They want, people are desperate. And I think, you know what, when people get cold and they see their energy prices go up 400%, I really don't think they get quite as green as they were before. Um, and I think, this little AJ Lucas, if I was in it, I'd be holding it. And I should think there'd be more and more good news now. Well, I don't know if you could call it always good news, but there's going to be certainly more and more bullish news for fracking that's going to, that over the next 3 or 4 months, that I think there's a good chance you could see this company again increase in market capitalization. Um, Plus the fact, I'd also argue case for the for the market cap where it's trading. It could be a very interesting uh, company for a number of the bigger oil plays out there, which I think quite easily just swoop this up in a second. Um, so AJ Lucas, hopefully it's going to be a good story for us. But like we said, it's all about risk and reward. Have your stop loss. I mean, it's had a little bit of a move this week. Maybe lift your stop loss. I'm going to give you maybe a stop loss on this one. Where shouldn't it go under? I don't think it should go under 14, so maybe I'd have a stop loss on 13. Yeah, listen, it could go down 50%. It could go up. It could be a 5 bagger, 10 bagger. Who knows? But a lot of risk in it. But please make sure you have your stop loss, and we'll see how that one goes. Um, just obviously looking Ramsey Healthcare, as we said the other day, they've been in a trading halt that they were not going to accept that takeover offer. It hasn't happened, and down she goes. We had a BGL, and you see the gold stories looking a little bit better overnight. And I'll try and bring you the gold chart over so we can have a look. Um, and you can see gold forming a base and it's just starting to pivot a little bit. Um, you know what? I'm tempted. I'm tempted to say go for it, get a bit of new crest. Maybe what we just want to do wait tonight and to see what those CPI numbers come up and see how gold reacts. And if gold holds up pretty well, I think tonight we can have a look at buying maybe a little bit of gold tomorrow. I'm trying to find a technical reason to buy Newcrest. I, I can only find one on a reversal on the gold chart at the moment, but that might be okay. Um, picking bottoms is really hard, and but what we're looking for is we sort of, how do you say, it's not a classic equity story trending idea, but in these times I quite like having a little bit of gold anyway. For me as a person, even a little bit of a hedge. But we'll have a look tonight. We'll have a look what's happening with those CPI numbers. We'll see where inflation is, and we'll have a look how gold behaves. And And if it does well, we might what try and do is just buy a reversal on gold and see if we can make some money on Newcrest. We do think it's the best gold play, certainly the one in Australia. Um, DEG, which I spoke about the other day, um, maybe that re-rate could come off a little bit more. And actually, I really do like that chart. If it looks like that on the weekend, guess what? It's got a nice little buy signal. So we did mention this one the other day. This is actually, sorry, on a monthly. Let me go back to a weekly. Not quite a buy signal on a monthly, although they do work. But again, a bullish little weekly chart, and you know, went up. I think it's retested that 120. Can it go on with it? I don't see why not. I think there's been higher valuations of 160 on this by a few companies out there, and I think if gold does well, certainly you could see De Grey Mining maybe get up to that 130, 135 level. Um, and again, we've seen oil up overnight, Santos up today, Woodside. So these oil plays, they're just keepers for me at the moment. There's a little bit of volatility in oil always, but I think you're going to see over the next year Santos and Woodside possibly trading a lot higher than when they are at the moment. Um, I think that's really all I've got to say. The market is really quiet today, but I think I've explained to you a little bit my reasoning why I like AJ Lucas. It's the upside is just ridiculous. Um, possibly you don't know. Maybe in 5 years, 3 years, Trussell, when the war's over and Russia's supplying gas again, uh, maybe they'll ban fracking again. I don't know, but at the moment, there's definitely a trade in this, and potentially could see it going a lot higher. Um, and Yeah, definitely. And we'll look to do a little bit of gold. I think maybe trend a little bit of gold this week. But we'll just see how it goes tonight. And fingers crossed, um, it'll be these CPI numbers maybe won't be as bad as what I think there will be. Right. On that note, thank you very much for listening to Equity Story, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you. Bye bye.